1 Samuel 30, entitlement versus sacrifice. This is the story of David and Araunah. Okay, and David, I saw the sculpture of Michelangelo Buonarroti in Firenze, which is in Florence. Ang galing talaga. Pag galing talaga, this is Carrara marble. Pero pag tinignan mo yung kamay, pag lumapit ka, kikita mo yung ugat, halos kulang na maramdam mo. This is really a thing of ang ganda na pagka yung sa Firenze. Now, King David and Araunah, the story goes like this. David, he conducted a census of Israel and Judah. Even though his general said, don't do that, don't do a census. Binibilang. Because sometimes you do a census, tinitignan mo gaano karami tao mo, gaano ka, it's really more iyayabang mo about your kingdom. Okay? God was not pleased when David did that. So what happened then, David was depending more on the human strength of his kingdom than depending on God. And true enough, God sent a plague. A plague fell on the population. Because David was a man after God's own heart. He's supposed to trust God, not the number of people, not his resources, not for us, not our connection, not our name, not our bank account, not our pedigree, not our clan. We trust on the goodness, the grace, and the heart of God. So a plague fell on the population, and 70,000 people died. God stopped the plague as it approached Jerusalem. Then David, as David reached the outskirts in the area of the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite, he saw the angel of death. Okay, that was God's anger sparked up. Now he decided. Then the prophet God came to him, and he decided, gave him three options, but he decided to build an altar to God on that site. He repented. He was now, and we pick up the story from that part. David builds an altar. We are taking it from 2 Samuel 24, 18 to 25. And God came that day, the prophet God came to David and said to him, "Go raise an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite." So David went up at God's word as God had commanded. The good thing about David during this part of his life is when he made a mistake, he was quick. He was quick to go back to God. So, sabi ngayon, tumingin na si Araunah, yung may-ari ng threshing floor. Threshing floor, yun yung where you bring the harvest to separate the grain. So, threshing floor. So, isipin mo, dumating yung hari, sa'yo farmer ka, and Jebusite, you're not even a true Israelite. You are one of the people na nandoon na sa promised land. Sabi ni Araunah, he paid homage to the king and with his face to the ground. And Araunah said, "Why has my Lord," small letter L, "why is my Lord the king come to his servant?" David said, "So I want to honor God, build an altar to the Lord as part of God stopping the plague, and I'm giving an offering and a worship to God. Can I buy your threshing floor, that the plague may be averted from the people?" Then Araunah said to David, sabi, of course, hari ba naman humingi sa'yo? Sabi niya, "Let the Lord my king take, kunin mo na, okay, and offer what seems good to you." Hindi, dagdagan ko pa po yan. Kung ang hiningi mo lang is my threshing floor, ito pa, oxen for the burnt offering. Ito pa, threshing sledges. And ito pa, the yoke of the oxen for the wood. Okay? Itong offer. At this point, all this, mahal na hari, I give to you, free. Sabi niya, free to free. Sabi niya Araunah sa hari. And sana tanggapin ng Panginoon yung ibibigay mong offering. Tanong, this is now a crucible moment. You've been into crucible moment, you have to decide. You have to remember when there's a crucible moment, your surface decision, there are underlying forces. You may make a decision on the outside, but something else is driving it. You may make a decision on the outside, but it can be driven, sabi natin, by fear or faith. It can be by arrogance or humility. You make a decision. The people on the outside don't know why you're making the decision, but it's always, you are usually in a crossroad. That's why sabi natin, crucible, decisions, choices that change your life forever. So, I am king, and this guy is offering it for free. I can just take it because I am king. The reason why this guy paid homage to me, that's why he put his face on the floor, is because I am entitled to it. I am the king. I'll just take this. But is that what David do? No, that's not what he did. Let's continue. But the king, David said to Araunah, no, I will buy it from you. Binibigay niya libre, no? I will buy it from you. I will not buy burnt offerings. I will not offer burnt offerings to the Lord, my God. That cost me nothing. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. So binibigay sa kanya. Pwede naman niyang kunin. Maski nga hindi siya magpaalam, hari siya. Pwede nga niyang kunin lang basta-basta eh. Hindi. Binayaran niya. Ang sabi ni and then David built there an altar to the Lord and offered burnt offerings and peace offering. So the Lord responded to the plea for the land, and the plague was averted from Israel. 2 Samuel 24. Okay, from where do we get? No, I will buy it from you for a price. I'm not going to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, my God, that cost me nothing. Entitlement. When there is the frustration that we have, our discontent, or even self-pity, they will all come from unmet expectations. Unmet expectations. Expectation will usually be driven, more often than not, by an attitude that I am expecting this. I am entitled to this. I deserve this. And sometimes I just came from me and my wife just came from ministry today. We have a group early morning from 6 of couples, 6 to 8, 6 to 7:30 in the morning. These are some of them come from these are leaders, couples who come from CCF Feliz, CCF Eastwood, and CCF Nangka. And then that from Chinese churches, that like 8 different churches. And we discussed about an affair. We analyzed the affair, the anatomy of an affair, and the things that are driving men, especially men in midlife crisis. And then we had another group. These are BDO officers, about 70 of them, about 8 to 9:30, and we discussed the things that I went through when in my midlife crisis and your vulnerability to affairs and all of that. There is a driving that a man in his middle age is expecting that his life, not only is he accomplished something, but is looking for significance. That's why at the midpoint, at between 40 to 45, when he goes through a midlife crisis, I laughed at it before until I realized it was real. And the tendency for young younger women falling for older men is between the 10 to 20 years old and range. Why is that happening? Because a vacuum can actually attract another vacuum. But again, there are expectations behind it driving that. Expectations are usually driven by an attitude of entitlement. So, what do we mean by entitlement? It is an attitude that one deserves. It is a mindset that one has a right to expect. A mindset that I can assume special treatment, special recognition. And even men of God or even men who are serving God are not exempt from that. Para bang ang tagal ko na naging pastor, ang tagal ko ng ano dito, bakit hindi po, hindi naman ino-honor ako, bakit hindi ako, wala akong special parking spot? Bakit naman nung binanggit yung mga pinasalamatan, nahuli ako? Bakit naman itong simbahan na to, wala naman ako makitang gratitude man lang, hindi man lang ako naalala nila? Ba't naman ako nilagay sa likuran? Things like that. Para bang, I deserve better. I deserve better. Mga ganong klaseng mentality, di ba? Teka, sabi ko, tagal na ako nagsiserve, wala man lang nagpapasalamat. Teka muna, kaya ka ba nagsiserve dahil pasasalamatan ka? Ang tagal ko na dito, hindi mo na ako naalala. Kaya ka ba nagserve? Tandaan mo kay Peter in John 21, when Jesus restored him, and what did he say? Peter, do you love me? Yes. I love you, Lord. Serve my feed my sheep. 3 times. We are to serve on the basis because we love God, not because we will be recognized, not because we will be compensated. There is only one platform to serve God, and that is because you love God. If for any reason you are doing it for your Christian reputation or anything else, stop. Sayang lang yung sacrifice mo because hindi yan kalugod-lugod sa Diyos. Sinasayang mo lang ang oras mo. If you are doing that so that people will recognize you, because there's only one platform to serve God, and that is love. And in fact, sabi na, after saying Peter that 3 times and restoring Peter, he said, Peter, this is the way you're going to die. You will be martyred. And what does he say? In any case, Peter, follow me. You may live a life that looks like a failure to other people, a life of sacrifice. It may look like by the time that you die, you don't have the assets that you need. You don't have the watch that you want. You don't live in an address that's a gated community. Your car may be secondhand. None of those things matter. None of those things matter. It is not wrong to enjoy gifts. In fact, there were many rich people in scriptures, from Solomon to Job. There are many people of means because all of these come from God. It is not wrong to be recognized. It is not wrong to be given special treatment. Okay? To be given these things, it is not wrong. Those things can come from God. However, there is a difference whether you between enjoying, which is gratitude, versus expecting. Entitlement. It's a right. It's something that I deserve, which can lead to elitism even among people who serve God. Okay? Ay, isipin mo, ako, nakikita ako dun sa video ng CCF eh. Or ganito, kasama nga ako pagdating sa kain sa table, mas ang kasama ko sa table si Pastor Peter. By the way, I know Pastor Peter like the back of my hand. In 1974, I was planning my suicide at age 14. And for a series of events led me to a Bible study led by Pastor Peter in 1974, and he led me to the Lord in December 1974. And we worked in the church. I became the youth pastor of the church. He was an elder in the church. And doon kami nakita. The first 6 Bible studies in San Juan, magkasama kami ni Pastor Peter. We come a long way. And I just thank God for the mentorship that I have received from him. And the thing is, guys, when God allows people in your life that God is giving them to your life not so that para lumaki ang ulo mo. Hindi yan para because God is preparing you for something. Tanungin mo, bakit ako na-expose dito? How? Because all of the things that happen to you are meant for you to serve. Bakit si ganito? Bakit ang nagturo sa akin ng Greek ganito? Bakit ako na-expose sa ganito? Para bang hindi importante ka na ngayon, you have arrived. Hindi yun ang thinking. Ang thinking mo is, God blessed you with these people. Why? Why did God bless you with these people? You have to think in terms of service now. Sabi ni Phil Tuttle, the author of the book, deep down inside, most of us cling to the remains of a quid pro quo. Tit for tat, relationship with God. Lord, sinarbihan naman kita. Ayusin mo naman yung kotse ko, Lord. Lord, sinilbihan naman kita. Sana ma-recognize man lang ako. Lord, yung bang, hindi natin sinasabi, but it's an expectation. Sacrifice, on the other hand, our offering costs us something. Cost means when it starts to hurt. Pwedeng nagbigay ako. Nagbigay nga ako. Hindi naman umabot sa sakit. Hindi ko sinasabing hindi ka magbigay na maliit na nagbigay ka, but it did not make a dent. You did not have to give on something. You did not have to, if I do this, then I will have to trust God for something else. Because sometimes when you give what you are hanging on to, and you will be forced to trust God to replace what you give up. Because giving is an action of the heart. And it is at the point when it is painful, when it hurts you, when you have to scramble because wala sa plano mo yun. That's when you end up trusting God. Like in the widow's mite. Remember? Yung mayaman, habang nasa harapan pa, nagbigay yung isang babae na widow, nagbigay ng kusing na medyo nahihiya pa kasi alit ng pera. But what is the principle that Jesus was saying about the widow's mite? It is not the size or the amount or the sum of the gift. It is the size of the sacrifice. Why? The moment it involves sacrifice, it will involve your heart. And when God is looking for people, ano bang sabi? The Spirit of the Lord goes to and fro, looking for the person whose heart belongs to Him. This is a heart issue. Sacrifice, entitlement, both are heart issues. Sacrifices are expressions of love and devotion. The moment tumama na sa sacrifice, this is now part. And because it will also mean I have to trust God. Teka, inasahan ko na yun para gamit. Nakabukod na yun nakasubi na yun We give from the first fruits. Ang ginagawa kasi natin kung anong natitira. Ang concept sa Old Testament is pagdating, yung pinaka-prime sa harvest, yun ay bibigay mo. Hindi lang siya a tenth, but the first prime, the tenth. Hindi yung nagbibigay lang tayo sa Panginoon, tira. Hindi yun offering. Ang tawag doon, tip. Tapos, ang feeling mo, yung mga nagtatanong na, ibibigay ko, 10%, ba ano ba yun? Gross net. Yung mga nagtatanong, walang balak magbigay yun. Ang gusto lang ibigay minimum. Kapag pinoproblema mo, bigay sa kanang minimum, eh malamang hindi susunod. Yung mga nagtatanong ng gano'n, eh, ginagawang theological issue yun, walang balak magbigay yun. Okay? At saka, does that matter? Does that matter? Hinahanap, bakit mo? Ipipina mo. Teka muna, excuse me, yung 10%, yung isa, lahat naman ibibigay mo sa Diyos yan. Yung 10% is yung the tithe, hindi ka pa nag-offer. Hindi ka pa nagbibigay. In other words, pag nagbigay ka ng 10%, hindi ka pa nagbibigay. Ang bigay mo, outside of that. But all of that, you're supposed to give back to the Lord kasi talent naman sa iyo yun. Eh. Manager ka lang eh. Sacrifice and service are an investment in the needs and the desires of those around us. There are people around us. And when we bless them with God, kaya hindi ka pwede i-bless, ikaw kasi kapituko ka rin sa binigay ng Diyos. Okay? Binigyan ka ng blessing. Minsan yung blessing, naging Diyos mo ba? Lord, i-promote mo ako. Na-promote ka. Bumili ka ng bahay sa Tagaytay. Ngayon, namumroblema ka ng pag-weekend kasi pag hindi ka nag-weekend doon, ngayon, namimiss mo na ngayon church. Kasi doon ka lang mag-weekend. Kailangan mo na, remember the price of a thing. It's not just the thing, but what else goes with it. The price of Netflix is not just a subscription. Pag nanonood ka ng Netflix, what does it take away from your ministry? What time does it take from your family? At habang nakaupot kumakain ka doon, what does it stall on your sleep? What is its toll on the food that you eat? The price of things. The price of things. What you focus on becomes your reality. Where you give your time and your money. Tandaan mo ang sabi ng Bible, it does not say, because where your heart will, where you put your treasure, your heart will follow. Di ba lang baliktad? Where your heart is, the treasure will follow. Baliktad. No. Saan mo ilalagay ang oras mo? Saan mo ilalagay ang pera mo? Susunod yon. Example, meron kang hobby. Nagsimula ka sa hobby. Mamaya inubos na oras mo. Mamaya inubos na pera mo. Kaya maski yung magsasabong, maski walang pera, pagdating ng sabon, nakakautang. Kasi bakit? Ano sabi ni Rico Blanco? Kung gusto may paraan, kung ayaw may dahilan. Mahirap to. Ang example natin si Rico Blanco na ng River Maya. Okay. Let's go to 2 Samuel 3. When as David was dying, there was a flashback. Something that happened. 3 of the 30 chief men ni David went down and came about the harvest time to David at the cave of Adullam. No, this was at the time when they were on the run. See, they were on the run from King Saul. There was a band of Philistines that was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines of the Philistines was then at Bethlehem. Okay? In other words, naokupa yung Bethlehem. Nagtatago sila. They were on the run. And David said longingly, nagsalita lang siya ng wish, ay naku, alam mo, namimiss ko, yung tubig sa Bethlehem, matamis-tamis yun doon sa gate, sa Bethlehem gate. Nagsabi lang siya, hindi niya alam. Ang ginawa niya, 3 of his key officers took the risk. They went into the camp of the Philistines kasi the Philistines were in control of Jerusalem then, of Bethlehem. Pumasok sila doon para they risk their life to get the water. Maibigay lang nila for them just to honor David. Tubig yun, tubig. The 3, ang ibinuhis nila, dugo nila, just in case, no? The 3 mighty men broke through the camp of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem. That was by the gate and carried and brought it to David. Anong ginawa ni David? Binala ni David, oh David, sir, narinig namin yung gusto mo. Alam ko, hindi mo kami inutusan. Pero to honor you, kumuha kami ng tubig. Dala na namin. Anong gagawin ni David? Tama yan, hari ako. In fact, I led you here. In fact, you are serving with me. Mabuti nga, pinili ko kayo. Entitlement yun. Anong sacrifice dito? We will see David to sacrifice. How? Okay, the last lines. Then the 3 men broke into the camp of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate and brought it to David. But he would not drink. Ayaw niyang inumin. Anong ginawa? Binuhos sa lupa. Ano? Ano nangyari? Sana kung alam namin, di na kami pumunta. No, you don't understand. He poured it to the Lord. He honored the Lord for giving me these men. He honored the Lord that these people understood sacrifice. These men understood that serving God would include taking risks for God. So he poured it to the Lord. Why? Sa ang inexplain ni David, far it from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Para lang sa karangyaan ko, para lang sa convenience ko, para lang because of my for the water, just because yun ang gusto ko. Iinumin ko ba to? Para ko na rin ininom ang dugo ng mga tao ko, the blood of the men who risked their life. They risked their life for this. I would rather give this to the Lord. So that yung ginawa nila is an offering to them. And my not drinking it is also my offering to God. You begin to understand now what sacrifice meant. Therefore, he would not drink it. These things the three mighty men did. Three men risked their lives. They risked their families losing the head of their household. But David, it shows that he had a heart of sacrifice. A spirit of entitlement says, whatever is of value, kung mahal, I'll keep. Yung mura, pamigay ko. Kaya minsan, kapag tingnan nyo na lang, kapag may mga bagyo, yung binibigay na relief goods, yun yung mga hindi na kumasya sa kanila dahil ang taba-taba na nila, yung mga suot nila dati. Naalala nyo yung panahon na meron pang maong na low-rise jeans? Yung ang baba-baba sa likod, pag umupo pa, nakikita na yung crack mo sa likod. Naalala nyo yung panahon na nauso yun? Nagtataka ako, bakit ang baba? Tapos nagsusuot ka ng low-rise jeans, tapos taas ka naman ng taas. Hindi ko maintindihan. Later na intindihan ko na din. Kaya ka bumibili ng low-rise jeans. Pag wala kang cleavage sa harap, pakita mo yung cleavage mo sa likod. So yun. Paligay ko. Now, to this, the spirit of entitlement, sabi ni Phil Tuttle, a spirit of entitlement says, whatever is of high value, I'll keep it. But a spirit of sacrifice is, if it is of high value, I give it to God. If it is of high value, I give it to God. The crucible moment. Entitlement. Things in my grip. It's about me. Sacrifice. It's about gratitude. It's about worship. It's about love. It's about whatever else I need. It is in his grip. My life is in his grip. My provisions is in his grip. My protection is in his grip. My security is in his grip. Pinag-uusapan, narinig ko yung usapan natin, umiikot tayo sa mundo, nagta-travel tayo. Kami mahilig mag-travel. Right before the pandemic, the year we were in both Canada and the US and with my family, and we were with some of our relatives in the Hamptons. And that year, I traveled so much. I was also in a conference in Milan. I was in Milan, and I missed that. And we had a number of plans. Usually, every other year we go to Europe. We are based in Paris because yung pamilya na Mrs. ko, they have a house, an apartment in Paris. And my sister-in-law got married to a guy who was the vice mayor right outside of Paris. So sanay kami mag-travel, and of course, ganun And then yung when you look back now, and now you have to trust God. Lord, nagulo yung plano ko. But you can live a life of gratitude and worship. Nagpasalamat lang ako na kami pabuong pamilya talaga. We took the time as a whole family, and we honored the Lord, and we thank God. Talagang blessing lahat sa amin ng Panginoon yun. In entitlement, your life you can easily become bitter. And your life will not move kasi until in-honor ka, because ayaw mo, nagpupumiglas ka, nagtatantrum ka na hindi ka binigyan ng recognition. In his grip, you will live a better life. Because when you let go of the good things, kaya ka mabigyan ng Lord, kaya ka di mabigyan, kapituko ka kaya ibibigay ko sa iyo, puno yung kamay mo. And it will stretch your faith. And it will stretch the grace of God. It will stretch the grace of God. Where you are always looking for entitlement, your life will be on pause. The Lord doesn't know what to do with you. Kasi nagbumukmo ka pa You put your life on hold. But when you sacrifice, you put your life in play. Why? Because when you sacrifice, you are trusting God for everything else. And your life is in play. God can put something on the platform of your life because your life is open. Hindi siya cluttered ng stuff. Because when you own things, they start owning you. When you start to think you own your reputation, we are God's servants. They called the Christians Christians. In other words, maliliit na Kristo. A true slave does not have a family name. His family name is the name of his owner. For example, your name is Aristarchus. Aristarchus, the slave of Malchus. Because we have no name except we are children of God. We have no agenda other God's agenda. We don't do things for God. We have one duty, to be faithful and to be intimate with the Lord as much as possible. We don't do things. Our ministry are not things we do for God. When we identify our life in Christ and we get to do things, God gets to do things through us. These are not things that we do for God. Baka makalimutan mo. I will not offer burnt offerings to the Lord. My God, that cost me nothing. Entitlement versus sacrifice. Maraming salamat mga kapatid. I hope this has been helpful for you.